Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another show of Feast of Films Theatre, today starring Matthew Black and Ethan R. Hill. There, that's the intro.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Classic.
Welcome back to Feast of Films. This is part 2 of our 2-part special on adaptations. I mean, I have a controversial pick for my least favorite that I think is going to upset you.
Well, let's rock and roll, baby. I'm ready.
First, honorable mention for my least favorite one is actually, again, it's the reverse happened for me, but like in a very distasteful way, which is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, right. Yeah, you mentioned this one too.
I watched the movie and I liked it.
Yeah.
But then I read the books and I'm like, holy crap.
This movie sucks.
Well, because it actually dives into the characters and it actually explains everyone. And it should have been at least 2 movies, if not 3, or a miniseries. Anything like that. So that's one of my dishonorable mentions. But my main pick for my least favorite adaptation is the last 2 films in the Dark Knight series. And that's...
Go on. It's because my Joker is better than yours, isn't it?
Yes, that's the only reason. It wasn't better, Matt. It was just different.
It was a better adaptation.
So
mine was black.
I mean, I can't even argue with that. Batman Begins laid some pretty good groundwork for being Batman.
Yeah.
At the core, it was a pretty good Batman Year 1 adaptation. Like, it didn't adapt the comic note for note at all. It was still kind of building its own world, but it still felt like Batman at the core.
Mm-hmm.
It still felt like this is this guy who, is traumatized enough to become Batman. And he didn't ever really betray his character.
Right.
At least I felt. And he was very much, he wasn't much of a detective, but he was still like the Intimidator and all that kind of stuff. He was trying to make Batman a symbol, and that's great. The problem I have with Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises... I'll go into Dark Knight Rises first because that one's a lot easier for me to pick apart than...
Yeah, that one's the weaker of the two, for sure.
But literally, right out the gate, Batman retired for 8 years because Rachel died. Like, really? Like, really? No, Batman would not do that. Batman wouldn't stop being Batman because the love of my life has perished. And then he walks in looking like Oliver Queen shooting arrows. Like, what's that about? What the heck was that about? And just like
I never even thought about that connection. Maybe that was like an Easter egg type thing.
I think it was. And
interesting. I didn't even think about that till you just mentioned it. I was like, damn, he did.
He has the goatee and everything.
He's got the arrows. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Son of a bitch. Okay.
The idea that especially at the end of The Dark Knight, where it's like they set up the fact that he's like, yeah, he's still going to do Batman things, and he's still going to save Gotham, but we're going to have to chase him. And then you cut to Dark Knight Rise, and it's like...
And so he just left that night. That was it.
He just quit. That was it.
No, I don't disagree with you from a storytelling element. I don't disagree with you from there.
The hero we deserve.
I think just before I'll let you keep continue in a sec here. I think a lot of that changed too, like the idea of it, like once Heath Ledger died, because I'm 100% sure they had more plans with him, right?
Well, I have a controversial pitch for that no one likes my idea.
Oh goody!
Because
I can't wait.
So when Heath Ledger was the Joker, it was around the same time in the comics where the Joker actually cut off his own face and then strapped it back to his head.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, what if you took that angle and like you have a cast of Heath Ledger, so why don't you just like have another actor wear Heath Ledger's Joker's face? And everyone's like, horrendous. No, you can't do that.
That is so terrible, Ethan.
But it technically is in line with the comics.
Yeah, but the guy died, man. You died. Let's just put a dead man's face on. Like, oh, buddy. Okay, I get what you're saying, but
it would work.
Damn,
but it would be in really poor taste.
You know what? But it would also be something the real Joker would do. So,
right?
It's terrible, but you're like, I can't deny that would be a character thing he would do. Oh my god.
It would be terrifying, and I think I don't know, I don't think it would have been the worst thing. You'd want the family's blessing, and you'd want
which I don't think they would give, man. I can't imagine any family being like, yeah, just make a mold of his face, have someone wear it, like you cut it off. I would highly doubt that.
at the end of the day, it all depends on. I think it depends on if they knew if that would be something he would be okay with.
Yeah,
Right?
maybe.
Like it depends on like. Well, I mean, like, I guess you guys can take this as like as a contractual thing. If there's ever a time that I play a character whose face can be worn by someone else and I die, feel free to use my face. Just don't disrespect me as a
Oh
character.
my god. Okay, so now that that's over,
This is in
continue
writing.
on with your
So
point. I wish I didn't even bring it up now.
it's in writing now. It's fine. It's well, it's not in writing, but it's like
It's
it's recorded.
recorded.
Yep. You can use my likeness after I die as long as you're not disrespecting me. Unlike like the James Dean thing, which is a whole weird other like that's a whole other
Oh.
topic. Anyway, also fast forward to the very end. Like it's at the very end. These are the two biggest points I have for like why Batman isn't Batman and why it's not a good adaptation because it just I don't know, it just falls flat for me. At the very end, Batman after so he gives up being Batman for 8 years. Then he comes back for like maybe what 2 months, a couple months.
Like,
Comes back
bro, if that.
if that,
Like a
and
couple
then
nights for the way the movie would tell it.
he fakes his death to run away with a new lady that he found who looks suspiciously kind
Oh,
of
I get what you're
like.
saying. At the end of the film. I thought you meant like in between him coming back and getting his ass beat by Bane. I was
No,
like,
I'm
I'm pretty
talking.
sure that was only like a couple nights, bro.
No, I'm talking about at the
The whole
very end
movie in
when he
general.
fakes
Okay, yeah.
his death and then just disappears and is like, "Well, Gotham's fine now." And it's like, "How do you know Gotham's fine?"
He was in pretty rough
I'm
condition when you left it, homie.
and then the fact that he like no one knows what Bruce Wayne looks like. This billionaire. There's not even a disguise at the end. He didn't even grow a beard again. He just looks like Bruce Wayne sitting at a cafe, a well-populated cafe.
Yeah.
Like it just at the end of the day, that movie did not feel like Batman. It felt like he was just
Well, like at the end of the day,
and
that movie definitely like it's probably one of Chris Nolan's weakest. Like out of all of his films, right?
you
Like
can
or
tell it was a
like
contract film, right?
it's definitely they definitely adjusted the story from what it originally was supposed to be and did their best to make it work. But
Yeah.
like there's like you said, like there's just character things and there's other elements in that film where just it's nowhere near as good. It's the lowest of the trilogy. Like they didn't end
And
with the high note. They ended on the lowest note for sure.
for my final point with the Dark Knight series, with the Dark Knight movies, and this is where
See now you're gonna piss me off. You talk about the Dark Knight. You can piss me off.
the
No,
Dark
I'm
Knight.
fine. I won't kill you yet.
Yeah, I'm far away.
I'll just be
Here's the
wearing
thing.
Ethan's face.
I gave you permission, so it's fine.
Okay, this is getting dark. Okay.
So here's the thing. At the core, I will never say that the Dark Knight is a bad movie. I think the Dark
Good
Knight's a
job.
great movie, and
Yep.
I like it as its own movie. As a Batman movie, it's not good. It is not a good Batman film. Heath Ledger's Joker is arguably untouchable for that interpretation. I really like his performance. Did it deserve an Oscar? I don't know. Like, there's so many factors that played into him getting the Oscar. Like, again, I
He
think
was dead.
specifically with that situation happening, yeah, he deserved it. But if he would have survived, I don't know if he would have got the Oscar for it. I think that's
Yeah.
speculation, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
That's a
at the end
fair
of the
thing,
day.
though. Yeah.
At the end of the day, does that matter when it comes to the movie? But regardless, his performance is amazing. Christian Bale's performance, as much as I love Christian Bale, the Bat voice is one thing that's really, really bad.
I don't mind it.
It's just you could do it well if you plug your nostrils. And you just do this.
You don't even need to do that.
And always breathe.
Just hold your mouth open and never close it properly.
On a flip side, jumping back to The Dark Knight Rises, that moment when Catwoman disappears on him and he says, "So that's what it feels like." Who is that for? Who is that for?
Just for himself. We all talk to ourselves. I'm not gonna
Yeah, I
hold
guess
that
it's
against
true.
him.
Like, so anyway, so one of the big problems I have with The Dark Knight and Batman's performance, with Batman's whole thing, is that honestly, it comes across so much as his motivation is based around Rachel, and solely Rachel, and not about his parents' death, not about believing in justice. It's just about like Rachel. He's gonna quit being Batman to be with her. And that bugs me because that's never a thing that Batman's ever, that's not a
Hmm.
thing that he would do. That's not a thing that, the mission always comes first for him. That's the character that he is. That's who he
Yeah.
is at the core. Right? So he would never compromise that for anyone, even for his best friend. I mean, like arguably he's never compromised that for Alfred. That's arguably a better moment in Dark Knight Rises, but I still dislike that where like Alfred's basically like, "No, you need to give up because I can't watch you die." And Bruce is like, I can't give up. I can't stop because I have to keep doing this." The problem I have with that in Dark Knight Rises is then Alfred leaves, which that's such an anti-Alfred character thing that bugs me.
Again, yeah. Like
Um,
that movie had definitely issues. That's an
so
interesting point that you actually bring up. I honestly don't even disagree with you on that. I really don't. Like I never really considered that before, but I'm like, God damn, you're right. He was really obsessed with Rachel, which
like
was a really strange thing for the actual character to be.
almost American Psycho levels of obsessed, but like,
Yeah, he just didn't like hack up a bunch of people, which
ex-
would go
thank
against for his
goodness.
character thing. I think
No
I
guns, no
think
killing, except for the guns on my things. You can use those. But like that's
yeah, I think
I'm not even gonna bring up no killing because like that's universally in all of Batman's adaptations he kills people, even though he says he doesn't kill people, he kills people, and I can't.
he definitely kills people. Like even in the video games, like you play the Arkham games, it's like okay,
Oh yeah,
you just shove that dude's head into an electrical box, like he did. Like he doesn't kill people out of like hate. He just
dude,
in self defense if someone dies. Oops, shit.
the
Okay, well
Michael
it
Keaton
happens.
one, he like unleashes like machine gun fire on these people, and he's smiling while he's doing
Yeah,
it.
that's true. Man. I love Tim Burton's Batman. It's
Oh, they're so
so
much fun.
good, so
But
good.
at the same thing,
Um,
at the core, they're still Batman though, and that's like they still feel like
yeah,
Batman, minus the killing thing. But that's again, that's a whole other
but
debate.
no, like yeah,
So
you're 100% right, and I think, but like I agree with you in that aspect. I never really thought about it that way, but
mhm.
the rest of the aspects I can't really challenge. Like I think other than that, Batman is Batman. Unless you have more points, and maybe you
Oh,
do.
just wait, I got more.
Okay, you know what? I'll let you finish, then I'll kind of talk about my feelings on it.
um, he's a terrible detective. He's a horrible detective in this movie. Commissioner
It's
Gordon,
more like tech stuff.
I need to not let your men in here because they'll contaminate the crime scene. But I'm gonna carve a chunk of this wall out with a drill, thus contaminating the crime scene, so I can reconstruct a bullet. That's not Batman. Batman, the type of the detective he is,
Weren't they
he.
yelling at him like because he's gonna contaminate the crime scene? I don't think he said they were. I
I
think they
think it.
said he
I want to
was.
say it was a. Well, he did, and he did.
Well,
Again,
he stole part of the
any
crime scene.
but any evidence they would have found in there is completely like gone now because he destroyed it.
That's true.
But like
Yeah.
I guess that's fine. Like it's his detective work isn't great. I don't know why he keeps showing up in the middle of the day. It's kind of weird. I mean that's been a weird thing since.
Yeah, it's just a thing. It
Um,
happens.
trying to think of what else. I guess him killing Harvey at the end is also really out of character too, because like he could have saved both. He could have saved the boy and Harvey.
Possibly.
I think he could have. It's Batman. Like at the core, it's Batman, man.
He can do anything.
But like, even the fighting style at the end of the day, and that's such a nitpick. But like the way that he fights in the second and third one, and they whittle down all of his fighting moves to instead of being a master of like multiple different martial arts, it's I'm gonna fight with my elbows, and it was again more prominent in the third film than it was in the second one.
Right, yeah.
But it was literally just like, yeah, I'm gonna just do this a bunch, and it's like, okay,
Like just beat
all
you with
right.
these claw things.
So like to me, at the end of the day, and like it can even harken back to Batman Begins, the whole like line of like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you. Like
Yeah.
okay, I guess so.
I guess technicality.
But like that to me, it's at the end of the day, like there are just moments like that where it just feels like there's a lot of non-Batman stuff, and I haven't watched those movies in a while, so I could be missing out on either other points, or maybe I'm missing out on things that are against my arguments.
And
But to me,
yeah,
I think that at the end of the day, you could take the Dark Knight, you could strip away all the Batman character names, everything from it that makes it a Batman movie, make up random names, and you'd still have just as good of a movie.
100%, and I
And that's
100% agree with that. Like at its core, it was just a really, really, really well made film. I remember because The
yes.
Dark Knight came out in 2012, same time as Avengers, right?
Nope. 2000 Dark Knight
Or
Rises came out in
2008.
2012.
Sorry,
Yeah.
2008, same time as Iron Man.
Yeah, man.
Um, and I remember I was talking to, I can't remember who it was. Like one of my 2008. Okay, maybe this was a conversation about Dark Knight Rises, but I'm gonna use it for Dark Knight anyway because it makes way more sense. Because I feel like that's when it was for. I can't 100% remember, but I remember talking to someone. They're like, "Yeah, no, The Dark Knight is like a really great movie, but Iron Man is like a really great comic book movie. Like it
Yeah.
was a much more faithful adaptation to Iron Man as a character than compared to, like you said, Batman when you're talking about The Dark Knight." And I actually 100% agree with that idea. At the end of the day, this adaptation, and again, like we said, the whole point is to make a really, really great film. I think that's where adaptations get tricky because how much do you carry over, right?
Because
Like this,
it's a good movie.
yeah, and I honestly think the soul of Batman, like the darkness, the parents, like his self doubt, like the conflict that's within him. I think it's a solid adaptation. I don't think it's the best adaptation we've got of Batman. I will
It
say
gets
that, and there's definitely elements in there that aren't very Batman esque that that they have in those films. But at the end of the day, they made really really great films, like high quality. Even The Dark Knight Rises, it has a lot of problems, but the quality is still fairly high. Um, Actually, I would say the Batman in Batman v Superman, like Batfleck, is a better adaptation of Batman
oh
than
yeah.
the Dark Knight.
Dude,
Just
I was a
simply
fan.
because like that character Batman, like the funny thing about that guy is like Batman is truly who he is. Like Bruce Wayne's the mask. Like Batman is who he is, right?
There's a guy in the middle. There's like, and I say this with most superheroes.
Yeah.
There's because I guess no, but you're right. You're right with Batman, except for there's like different levels of Batman. Because there's Bruce Wayne, then there's Batman that the criminals see, and then there's Batman that superheroes see, and then there's the guy that Alfred sees,
Yeah.
and that's the true who that man is. And he calls himself Batman at the end of the day, but that's who he is. Is right when the guy that Alfred knows, that's who Batman is, and we got that. We actually got that in a range for Batman Begins for sure, and I'd even say with Batfleck, you did see that range as well.
Well, that's an interesting way to say it. Like I don't know. I don't know how about like yeah, the guy in the middle, I guess, is probably I guess that's
That's
pretty
who he
accurate.
true.
But like how I
I, I think you are right. I think you are right by saying that Batman is who he really is. I do agree with you. So
like at
I
his
strike my
soul, right? Like Bruce
yeah,
Wayne
yeah.
died in that alley with his parents, right? Like he became Batman at that point. Not necessarily physically. Obviously, he's not a 9-year-old dressing up being like, motherfucker, I'll kill you guys. But Batman is truly who he is, like in his soul. And I think they did a great job of that in Batman v Superman. Because even when he was Bruce Wayne, he was still like, you knew that was the mask, like, and Batman was who he truly was. Justice League, they didn't really do that though. He was kind of like, it wasn't the same Batman. Like the adaptation had
It's
definitely shifted by the time Justice League came around.
because at that point DC's like, hey, we want Avengers.
Yeah,
Why don't we have Avengers yet?
yeah.
And so they tried to make it Avengers, and that's the
Like
problem.
like that one
That's
scene where he's like, "I don't not hate you" or whatever it was. Like it was like so stupid. I was like,
or the
Batman wouldn't even consider saying that.
or the line of like, what's your superpower? Money, like,
Yeah,
or
like
I'm
he
rich,
like
like
there was a lot of different things there with that, but the Batman v Superman was a very faithful adaptation of Batman at the end of the day, and probably one of the better ones.
It just
I
until
agree
we
with you.
reached Martha, and then as soon as it got to
Yeah, that
Martha,
was
that
like
that's just like, wait, what?
it's really really questionable. But again,
Does
like you
Bruce
said,
think? Does Batman think other people can't be called Martha?
like, is that really surprising? I
This
think I
person you
think
never met said
I
Martha. Is that my mom you're talking about? Like if a
okay,
random stranger says Wendy to me, I'm not gonna be like,
mother.
why'd you say that name? I'll be like,
Why'd you say that name? Like,
my thought would be like Peter Pan and Wendy,
yeah,
not like my mother, because who would know? And like,
yeah. No, I kind of get what he was like. I haven't watched it for a while, but last time I did watch it, I can kind of get where he's coming from. It's trying to like just number one, like it kind of activates the PTSD that Batman obviously carries around with him, like all the freaking time. Number two, it makes Superman human to him instead of just an alien threat. It really connects Superman to humanity for Batman. Like he's an actual person. He has a mom who happens to also have the same name as my mom. So like, but it was really, really awkwardly done, and it was really, really stupid that I didn't really catch it till like the second time around. I'm like, oh, I kind of see what he was doing there, but it was just not well executed. Um, but no, like I'll agree with you. The Dark Knight, fantastic movie. Probably not the strongest Batman adaptation though.
no, and like, but as a movie, it's fine. As a movie, it's good. As an adaptation, it's not my favorite adaptation. It's
Yeah.
arguably like way down there. So Matt, what's your least favorite adaptation?
Oh my god, where do I start, man? Like, where do I start?
Do you have a lot?
I
Is there like a
have
list?
like, well, because here's the thing, like. I love playing video games. I don't play as much as I do, like obviously now with like a baby and stuff, and all those types of like have to adulting type things. But
Yeah.
there's so many like video game adaptations that they've made, and all of them have been terrible. Like except like Sonic, I guess. But I haven't seen Sonic. But
I mean,
my like some of them were like slightly below average, but that's like the best they got. Sonic, I guess, again, not counting Sonic. I haven't seen it. So I can't
I'm trying to
judge.
think.
Um, but yeah, like a lot of the comic book or not comic book movies, a lot of the video game movies have been like just horrendous adaptations. And the number one that I hate the most is the hat that I'm wearing. Assassin's Creed was one of the worst adaptations to anything I have ever seen.
See, I never seen it.
Oh my gosh, don't even waste your time watching that movie. I want to watch it just because I'm a fan of Assassin's Creed. I'm like, it can't be that bad. Forget Assassin's Creed, man. This is going to be tight. When I first heard Michael Fassbender was signed on for that film and was like trying to make it happen, I was so excited because I'm like, he's such a good. This was like shortly, I think,
After Magneto and stuff.
yeah, after like Days of Future Past, maybe, or maybe even before that. I can't remember. But Michael Fassbender was like really in his like prime at this point, right? And it was like I was so excited because I'm like, you put great talent in there. This movie's gonna be fantastic. If he's behind it, I'm all in. It's gonna be great. And Assassin's Creed has so much great lore to pull from. There's the science fiction elements. There's the historical elements. There's
Yeah.
so much great stuff for them to use, and they used like
None of it.
none of it. Well, they use stuff, but like in the most
In a bad way.
least interesting way possible. Like I don't know how they made running around with hoods and hidden blades not exciting, but they did.
Was he at least good in it?
It's like average at best, man. Like average at
Because
best.
he was in the movie.
Yeah, he was in the film. The biggest part of the why the Assassin's Creed adaptation didn't really work for me at all was it didn't carry the soul. And for me, that's the big thing, right? Like it carried over elements. Like they have the hood, they have the history, they have the animus, which they did a really weird thing with. And even just how they balanced out the film from the modern day to the historical period and how they did that was like really not great. So there's a lot of just from like there's problems with the film, there's problems with the stories, there's problem with like the movie making like techniques and decisions and
Yeah.
artistic decisions they made. But most importantly, like it didn't have the soul of Assassin's Creed. Like it didn't really
Well, it's like
feel like it.
having imagery and names doesn't make a good adaptation.
And like for video
Like
games, that's what they do a lot, right? And that's why so
it
many of them crash and burn because they're like, we put the name on it. That'll be good enough. And it's
it's honestly
not.
though, it's one of my problems with Zack Snyder's type of filmmaking is that he's very focused on visual. He's a good visual
He does
storyteller.
really good visuals.
He
Yeah.
can good
Yeah.
visuals, but when it comes down to character and it comes down to dialogue and it comes down to the actual story, he falls flat when it comes to writing. Because I mean, Batman v Superman, chock full of visuals, chock full of really good, stunning visuals. Same thing with Man of Steel. Same thing with Watchmen. Same thing with 300. Same thing with Sucker Punch. Amazing visuals, not always great stories. And
Right.
it sounds like it's a similar thing with like, because I saw the trailer for Assassin's Creed and it looked like Assassin's
Well, the
Creed,
visuals weren't that great either. Like they were average, I guess. There wasn't anything like
but they were
super.
recognizable, right?
Yeah, to a
Like you
certain
said,
like
like
they
the
had
hooded,
yeah, they had
the
certain
hoods and
like
the daggers, and
recognizable things. So like here's the thing, how the games are laid out. And I don't expect that like the movie doesn't have to follow this pattern. It doesn't have to. But it's got to at
yeah,
least make something that's some at least more or as is interesting, right? Like they got to make it work for film. I said that so many times in this podcast already and I say it again, you got to make it work for film. But what they didn't necessarily even make it work for film at all. So, kind of contradictory. Um, what the games usually do is like you kind of spend like maybe and depends which game you're talking about 5 to 10% in the modern day. Like it's a very short amount of time. You spend your
yeah,
majority with the historical ancestor in the past in history because that's where it's most exciting, right? And what they
yeah.
use is they use an animus, which reads like genetic memory, which is a weird, strange concept in itself, but pretty cool idea, especially in the original, first couple games there.
Yeah.
Um, but like and basically it's kind of like a table or a chair that they sit in and then they kind of get like ejected, then it's like a kind of like a VR thing and they go into the past and you play this character. What they did in the film, they're like, yeah, we got an animus, but we had to make it more cinematic. So instead of it being like a chair or something or a table they lay down, it's like this big fucking robotic arm that comes out of the roof and they like jab the needle into you and then like apparently you're in this robotic arm, but while you're in the past, your body's doing all the actions in the present.
So it's VR.
So it's pretty much VR, man. But like, so anytime they do like running around, like or doing rolls and flips, like the machine's literally lifting him up, and like floating him around. And then like halfway through, so this is the most annoying part. While you're in the past, like there are some actually pretty good scenes in there. But while you're in the past, they're continuously cutting back to the modern day of him doing shit like in the animus. Like the animus is moving him around. So they're like, don't forget, guys, he's really doing this in the real life
Oh
modern
my
day,
goodness,
not the
but
past. But like
why?
constantly. Anytime there is action, it's constantly jumping back to him like in this robotic arm. And they did not need to do that at all. Because if you
So
would
do
have
you
just went in
feel?
the past, it would have been far more interesting. And if they would have spent more time in the past, it would have been interesting. But the biggest problem is again, they didn't have the soul. And the story they set up didn't lend itself to a 2 hour film, like 2 hour, hour and a half, or however long it was film. Like it was just
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't made properly. There was definitely movie making, story crafting mistakes that happened. It wasn't just that, it just doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed. It's like there was a whole lot of problems with this film, which was
Do you feel
disappointing.
like it would have been stronger if they would have just stuck to the past? Like if
I
they would
think
have
so.
just
Like
picked the
I
time
think
period?
honestly, and this is argued for most Assassin's Creed games, if you just cut out the modern day, it would be fine. Because arguably you could just have the past person not like connected to the modern day, just some dude in the past doing things, right? Like you wouldn't necessarily need to have the modern day connection. Um but it kind of fulfills in the games like an overall story arc, or at least it used to. Doesn't really anymore. Um but in the film, like it wasn't necessary to have the modern day in there. I get why they did it, because it's kind of, they're trying, I guess, in that way to be accurate to the games. But the story in the movie takes place like 80% in the modern day, 20% in the past. Where the
Yeah.
modern day is very gray, it's very bleak. He's a prisoner, but they don't like there's no story to it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like being a prisoner is boring. Like if you watch Shawshank Redemption, being a prisoner is apparently the most interesting movie you've ever watched. You know what I mean? Like it's great. So but it was just again the story, the characters, the acting was really really flat. It was a really bad adaptation, and it was a really bad movie. And at the end of the day, there's two things that I said. It needs to have the soul of the whatever they're trying to adapt. Doesn't have to have beat for beat, doesn't have to be the same story. Like it was a totally different character, totally different story from the games, which I was totally fine with. That's fine. But you have to have the soul of whatever you're adapting, and then you have to make a
Yeah.
great movie. Like it has to just be a good film, because that's at the end of the day. If you're gonna adapt it, why would you want to adapt it into a crappy film? But
So
I
if it
like
was a good film, you wouldn't have had much
if
problems
it
with
was
it.
a good film and it worked, I'd be like, okay, cool. Like the ideas and stuff that they had in there, even though like I'm like the robotic arm thing was dumb as hell, because even from a cinematic standpoint, you didn't need it, because they only wanted so they could cut back to the modern day constantly during the action in the past. And it's like, no, just stay in the
Couldn't
past, man.
they
Like you don't even need to go back to the modern day. Everyone gets what's happening right now.
couldn't they just set an Assassin's Creed movie or game in the modern day as well?
Well, they could, but the
Could they
biggest draw for
technically?
Assassin's Creed is the past, right? Like
I'm just saying. I'm
that's the
saying for a
biggest thing.
movie.
But like, yeah, arguably, yeah, like you could just have a modern day Assassin's Creed. And at the end of the movie, they kind of go like, "Oh, now we're modern day assassins," but it was
But
kind
why
of
wouldn't
like
that just?
already too late. Like you either should have
Why wouldn't that
started
just
with
be the whole
that,
movie?
or yeah, you either should have started with that, or like, or just stuck in the history. But again, the storytelling, it wouldn't have worked for them to just start that way. But again, craft a craft a better story. And listen, it's easy for me to say like just make a better movie, guys. It's hard to make movies. It's really really hard to make a good movie. It is so incredibly tough. So I'm not like that's not me just being like guys just make it better, but I'm saying when you're getting paid millions of dollars to
When you
make
have
these
the
things,
budget behind
when
it,
you
though,
have the
it shouldn't
budget,
be this
when it's
hard.
your job, when you're getting paid incredible amounts of money to do it, put the effort in to do like put the effort in to do the good job, because it's doable. It's doable. And I think video games, very much like comic book movies, they're kind of waiting for that. They're waiting for their X-Men. They're waiting for like that movie that's gonna kick off and like open everyone's eyes to what these movies could possibly be.
Well, I think a
And they
big
just haven't
step in
happened
that.
yet. And I thought Assassin's Creed was, but perhaps it'll be Uncharted. Perhaps it'll be the Last of Us TV series that they come out with. Who knows? But
I feel like a step in the right direction was the reaction the studio had when like the fans actually talked smack about Sonic's design.
mm-hmm.
And like as much as I dislike the fans being able to dictate what movies should do,
Yeah,
I think in that situation that design was a massive misstep.
yeah. It
And
was yeah.
the redesign worked.
Yeah.
But also I'm very much pro those kind of video games movies like Sonic or like Mario. Just make them animated. Just make them an animated movie. You don't need to try and live action
Well,
them.
like and
They're cartoon characters at the end of the day.
and the thing is too, right? Like when it comes to Sonic, and I haven't seen the film again. I know I've said that a couple times, but I just clarifying, I haven't seen it. Even if you had the same old, like if they kept the old design, polished it up a bit, you know, made it a bit more vibrant because it was a little bit dark, but like
Yeah.
whatever they were going for, a more realistic looking Sonic. Perhaps we don't even know about the film. Like maybe in the film, Sonic was regular when he was in his like cartoon world, but then when he came to our world, he like became like more realistic looking. That could have been part of the film as well.
Man,
I
that would have
don't.
saved them so much. That would have been so much more money because all they would need to do is like animate a scene of him being like, "What the heck happened to
Well,
me? Why do I
exactly.
look this way?"
Like exactly, and I have a feeling that was probably maybe something that I'd feel that would make sense, right? If you're taking something that's a cartoon in a video game that's very cartoony in its design, bring it to the modern world, they're like, what does Sonic look like in a modern world? Not as a cartoon, but as like an actual creature. And I'm pretty sure that's where
Yeah,
that
but
design came from. It wasn't the greatest choice, but that was the choice they wanted to make. And at the end
to
of the day,
counter
would the
that
movie
though,
be any better or worse depending how Sonic looks like?
because
That's
I think they
that's a
did change a
question.
bit of the plot too. I want to say they did change a bit of the plot because they did do some reshoots, I think, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not
That being
100% sure on
said,
that.
though, Space Jam proves that you don't need to have realistic looking characters in your real world
No,
with your
you don't
cartoons.
have to. I just know that just was the artistic choice they decided to make.
It was a dumb one. Okay.
Well, but
I have
like
no
yeah.
strong opinions on Sonic in all honesty.
Like, did you see the movie?
Not yet. No,
Oh,
I want to
okay.
though.
Okay. Because I was going to say, do you think the movie would be better or worse depending just on what Sonic looks like? And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, it's a design. But I think if the movie's really great and really fun, I'm sure the movie still would have been great and really fun.
At the end of the day, I think we can all agree the worst video game adaptation is probably Super Mario Bros.
that, yeah, like, really?
Although, but,
Yeah.
but that being said, I do love that movie just for how bad it is, because it's like this weird mix of like Total Recall and
Yeah.
Super Mario
Yeah.
Bros. And like it just doesn't have a good tone, but like it's just bizarre. But I still love
It's
it.
just strange.
It's still part of my
It's
childhood.
strange, but yeah, no, for me it was definitely Assassin's Creed. And to be fair, they did put like some cool elements in there. They did like a leap of faith, which is iconic in the series, and it was like I think
Hmm.
they broke the record for the like highest like free fall jump
Yeah,
without like
because they
wiring
filmed
and
it
stuff.
live, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, like the guy actually jumped off, like they lifted up a crane, man, like super high, and the dude just jumped off. And I'm pretty sure they broke a
That's
record for
awesome.
it. So like there's cool things and they had some of the right ideas, but there were so many things they just did wrong. And it wasn't necessarily in bringing like the IP over as far as like visuals go. It was all like the soul and the storytelling and just creating the film and building it itself. There was definitely big problems, but I had high hopes because there's
Um,
a lot of potential in Assassin's Creed. A lot of potential.
I think video game movies will get their chance at some point. I just don't think we're quite there
We're
yet.
not there yet. No.
You almost need you almost need video game developers to be a part of the development of the movies. Maybe they have been, and I just don't know that. But like, I feel like that's the missing piece.
Yeah, I think that's like could be part of it. It depends. Like you'd have to have the right developers because there's like games are developed by like hundreds and hundreds of dudes, right? Or
Like I'm
dudes
talking
and
about like the
chicks
people
and
who like
stuff like that, or
are in
like the
charge of
game
overseeing it
developer,
all.
like the game directors and stuff like that. Yeah,
Well, it's like
possibly the
when you have the
narrative directors. That would probably actually be like the better. I feel like
yeah,
that'd be the better take. A narrative director who really understands this series.
well, because
One
essentially
of
at the end
the
of the day, you don't need to translate gameplay into these
No,
movies.
no, and you don't, and that's the thing. Like, and that's I think kind of where like some of the video game adaptations get wrong. They try to make like gameplay looking shots, if that makes sense. Where it's like, yeah, like the Doom
Doom.
stuff, yeah. But like, you don't have to do that. Like, that's not what anyone wants. We just want great stories told in a different medium
Exactly.
based on this IP. At the end of the day, but yeah, yeah, there's definitely things they could have done. I don't remember honestly. I kind of forgot what your question was in the middle of answering it. Just like
Or
what
just your
happened? Um
least favorite adaptation.
no, 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 not that part, but
Or
whatever you had just recently asked me like a second ago. I'm like mid sentence. I'm like, yeah, I totally forgot what my point was because I kind of forgot what the question was and what I was trying to point up to. But yeah, no, like they did really cool stuff. It was just they definitely had issues with the whole storytelling and creating just the film itself. But one day,
I dig that.
one day.
We'll see.
Oh yes, no, the writers. I remember now. Okay, just edit all that crap out, Prosser. One like
um,
as far as like who should help with like those types of films, and one of the lead writers on this new game coming out, and he's been a lead writer in like a considerable amount of really well written games is Darby McDevitt. he's just great when it comes to writing Assassin's Creed. Like he really understands the IP, he understands the mythology, he understands the story, he understands characters, he understands storytelling, right? So he'd be a great
Yeah.
person to have on a film. So you'd need to have probably either a game director or a narrative director who really understands the universe that can give that extra context. But then you also have to have like the, it has to be that partnership, right? Where you understand it's different mediums. And while the director can take as much advice he wants from the narrative or game director, like it's still a film, it's still his call at the end of the day. Just hopefully he's open to those ideas and able to, and they're open to like not having their ideas taken sometimes just because of the medium
Yeah.
restraints. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it,
Do
I
you
guess.
think? Do you think Halo's ever gonna be a thing or no?
Dude, they've been trying to make a Halo movie TV series forever. Like they did little ones.
Oh, I know.
Like they did
Yeah.
like little ones leading up to a couple of the games. I think it was for
I saw
Halo
the one
4,
with
Halo
the.
5. There was two series, like mini series kind of things.
I saw the one with the cadets.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like the people training. And
Forward
then,
After Dawn, I think that was called.
yeah,
That was leading
Forward
up to
Until Dawn?
4, yeah. And then there was
No, I like that one well enough. As someone who's not really a Halo
it
fan,
was
like, I
decent.
thought it was.
It was
Yeah.
decent. It wasn't the worst. Then there was this other one that wasn't that great. And I can't remember if it was called
One with,
Nightfall or something.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was
something
like
that.
with Jameson Locke was the characters like
Which
leading up to
I
Halo
can't even
5.
remember. Mike Coulter is the actor.
Yeah, Mike
I love
Coulter,
him.
yeah.
He's great. Like,
Yeah.
dude, him as Luke Cage is like my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be so upset when they recast Luke
He's
Cage.
Mike Coulter's a great actor, yeah. And
He's just such a nice guy. He's just so warm and friendly.
and it's funny, like in Halo 5, they actually here's a little like background info. In Halo 5, they actually had to change his casting. They kept his image, but it was a different voice actor who voiced him in Halo 5 because he left to go do Luke Cage.
It's a shame.
And then they canceled it in Halo 5. Like, either way, he was screwed, man. Either one of those choices wasn't going to end
Yeah.
well at the end of the day for him. But he's a really good actor. He is really. He's very talented. But yeah, he was in that one, and that one wasn't so good. Like, Halo, again, is another series that has a lot of potential. You just got to find the right stories, tell the right stories. I know one of their big issues is, like, there's a dude in a helmet, and people can't connect to people without faces. And I'm like, dude, Darth Vader, everyone loves that dude. Like, but
when actually there's more scientific research to prove that you connect to a blank face because you can project yourself onto that face.
yeah,
That's
and
why
I think that's
theoretically Groot is everyone's favorite
Guardian
guardian
thing.
because he's literally his face is two dots and a line.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. But like I like Mandalorian has showed us you can completely emote even behind a helmet. Like you wouldn't think it works, but it does. So there's not really a good
Well,
reason why not to do a Halo one. But again, because it's such a big IP, you want to make sure you're doing it justice if you're gonna do it.
Not just a one for one story of Halo.
Yeah, like you don't need to retell Halo, but it's a galaxy full of stories. I'm not gonna say like it's as big as Star Wars, but like there's anytime you have a setting that's a galaxy, come on, you got a galaxy of opportunity of stories. Like
Oh, straight up.
right, like it's huge, so there's potential there for sure.
One day, maybe.
Maybe one day. Like I said, all we need is just
Maybe-
like one really, really good video game that just kind of kicks everything off.
What, like, honestly,
Video
the
game
one I'm
movie.
surprised that it isn't. I'm surprised that Doom hasn't been able to pull off a good movie. Because, like, straight up, like, it's not that hard.
Like the basic
it's literally-
idea and soul
it's-
of it, yeah.
Space Marine kills demons. Like, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. But both movies they've done have been, like, the first one's at least kind of fun because it's like that. It's a product of its time.
Yeah.
Like if it didn't have Resident Evil and Underworld being like its looming shadow, it might have been not bad. But because it came out around that time, it just isn't great. And then Doom Annihilation was just such a waste of time. Like we watch it because Prosser loves Doom.
Yeah.
Like it's his favorite video game franchise. Like I mean, actually no, I'd say is Doom or Halo? Okay, he likes both. He likes both. But like Doom is very near and dear to his heart, so we watched this movie and we're like, we hope it's gonna be good. We don't think it's gonna be good, and it wasn't
And it
good.
wasn't.
It was really, really, really not
Yeah.
good. it had nothing to do with Doom. It wasn't a Doom movie, and it's like this shouldn't be this hard, guys. Like,
Like,
out of all of them,
yeah, out of all of them, Doom is like the most probably basic, straightforward concept as far as gaming
yeah,
goes. Like, it's very, very. It shouldn't be hard. Like, here's the thing: if people can make really great movies out of Lego blocks, come on, man, come on.
exactly,
You can make a really great movie out of anything as long as the story is right and as long as you have like the best pieces and you got talented people and passionate people working on these things, you can make them great. So like there's no excuse to me when someone's like, "Oh, the IP doesn't work or this reason or that reason." It's like, dude, they made movies. They made like really great movies out of Lego blocks, man. Like Lego blocks that literally have no story of their own. They're just blocks. And you made a great movie with them. So like you can do it. It can be done. You could make a movie about, Mousy the little black mouse that I have on my laptop, right? You can make a movie about Mousy and it would sell hotcakes if you have the right story. Or it could be terrible.
exactly. Well,
That's at the end of the
it's
day.
actually
It's about the right story.
another Creativity Inc. bit, which I think you might have got to at this point, but maybe not. His stance, and I agree with this. It's all about the people, because you can have a great story that is ruined by mediocre filmmakers and storytellers.
Yeah.
But you can have a mediocre story that great storytellers and great people
That's enhanced
make
by it.
into a great story.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's something that really needs to be reflected on and looked on. That being said, is there any universally I'm trying to think. Is there a universally hated adaptation?
Video game adaptations. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess video game adaptations does kind of sum that up because
Like most of them are, everyone's pretty much like, these are terrible. Like some people might say they're average at best. Like I have been hard pressed to find anyone who's like, I love video games movies. They are the best. It's usually just not that.
Okay, so we can acknowledge that. What about books? Is there a specific book that was like, or other medium that was like adapted?
What, World War Z? I don't know.
Okay, I'm
well,
getting that from two sides because Prosser just mouthed World War Z to me.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that one. That's hilarious. No, it's a hard one because I think a lot of films too, people don't even realize they're watching adaptations a lot of the time. And
well, that's the thing.
That's fair.
World War Z, we still sell copies of. People still buy that movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, go read the book. Go read something.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be something. There's got to be, like, I know Pan wasn't super well received, but again, like, no one really watched it. Man, I should have done more research into this. Like, do we just want to hop on Google and be like, the most hated adaptation ever?
I will Google it. I don't even know if they'll have an answer, to be honest, because I can't think of one. Not that I'm Google, but like I can't think of it. How could Google ever think of it? I'm a genius.
Yeah, I'm way smarter than
most
Google
hated
is.
adaptation.
Because like, it falls under a remake category. Because I'd say Psycho, like the 1990s version of Psycho, but it's a remake, not an adaptation, because it's a remake of the movie.
Right.
But it was like shot for shot. Like we started watching it beside the original one, and it was like disturbing how much like the cuts actually lined up and like how much the pacing was the exact same. Like it wasn't one for one, but it was
pretty close, eh?
And it was disturbing and like unsettling.
Here we go. Top
Is there
10.
any answers?
Well, I'm just digging through the internet here. Oh, I thought they were going to tell me. It's just telling me about a video. Oh, it's trying to make me watch a video. I don't want to watch a video. Oh, man. Nothing that I can necessarily find. And it kind of, like, nothing universally hated. Like, a lot of it's, like, hated by the author, or hated by this group, hated by that group.
Well, because like we don't even need to address Stephen King and The Shining because I think that's talked about to death.
Well, like, I mean, a lot of people love his adaptations. A lot of people don't. Like, it depends if people have read the books or not. Like, that's also a big part of it that comes down to it. Because a lot of people, you're just watching a movie, you're like, wow, that was a great film, great adaptation. Then people who read the book are like, are you kidding me? That was bullshit. Like, so it's hard. I don't think we're going to find anything universally hated. Basically, because subjectivity. Everyone loves different things.
Well, we know there are people out there who love video game adaptations. Like
Oh,
there are
for
probably
sure there
some
are,
people.
and they are wrong.
They're just scared to
They
talk
are
to
the
you because you might hit them.
worst. Yeah.
So I guess then, Matt, is there is there anything you were surprised to find out was an adaptation?
Jojo Rabbit. I knew when I watched it was an adaptation, but
Or when you
before
first heard
that,
about it?
yeah, I did not realize that was an adaptation. Like when I first saw the trailers and like things, you're getting the reviews and you're watching, you're like, man, this looks like a great film. I'm like, what a wonderfully weird, creative idea. And then you're like, oh, it was based off a book, huh? And I think a lot of things, to be fair, a good chunk of this stuff is somewhat of an adaptation or it's inspired by many other things, right? Like a lot of people, like whether you've read something or watched something or played something, we take in so much information and so many things we don't even realize that like we just become inspired to write those things or to tell those stories. And some things we specifically note as we're inspired by this, other things you kind of find later, you're like, huh, I wonder if that's where that thought came from,
Mm-hmm.
so really at the end of the day, what isn't an adaptation? Just kidding. We've already talked about what is an adaptation, and it's not that. But you can definitely be inspired by things, and Jojo Rabbit was one of the ones that was obviously specifically an adaptation because Taika Waititi won an Oscar award for, you know, his adaptation and writing it.
Hey, and it was a
And
well-deserved
it
one
was
because
because
that
it was
movie is
really,
amazing.
really good. And I have no idea what the book is like because it's like a kid's book or something. So I
Apparently, it's pretty
so
different.
yeah, I would assume it is, but like it's still technically an adaptation, and that was surprising to me.
I was gonna say by your earlier definition, Star Wars is an adaptation then because like it's George Lucas just stole everything for Star Wars.
Wow, like, but that's the thing that like you take different elements from different things and you put them together to create something new. That's a lot.
Exactly.
That's a lot of the creative process.
Honestly, dude, I don't even
Nothing
have
new
like a
under the
single
sun,
answer.
man. Nothing new under the sun.
I don't even have a single answer for like me being surprised by adaptations because it still happens. Like I saw Jaws and I watched Jaws and I found out that was based on a book.
Oh, Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park,
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah,
yeah,
Jurassic Park.
same thing. Psycho is based on a book. Didn't know that,
I did not know
but
that either.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
based off a book and the ending's completely different. Apparently, he changed the ending to like throw off the audience and stuff.
Interesting.
Um, oh, there was another one that I just had in my brain and I can't remember it, but oh, American Psycho. That one, that's based off a book.
Hmm.
Like, dude, there's so much that are based off books that it just like I find out about this stuff on a regular basis, and I just get really just confused and just really like, wait, what? You mean this isn't an original story?
Yeah.
How many lies have I been living?
Yeah, ain't that how it goes?
But I think also that's a to me that's a tell of a good adaptation is when you don't necessarily know that it's based on anything else because as you said, it's a good film first and
Hmm.
foremostly. And also it's taking a property that arguably a lot of people don't know about and making people aware of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's I don't know, that's
Nothing
my
overly
favorite part of it at
surprises
least.
you, eh?
I no, it's the fact that I just get surprised all the time, so it's not even like
There's nothing
it's like
that
oh
specifically is surprising.
look, if I found out Fast and the Furious was based off
Oh
of
my
like a
god.
book, I'll be packing up my things and just walking into the ocean. Like I mean, like it's like I just don't know what to do anymore from that point
Here's
on.
a question for you. Are based on a true story movies adaptations
Like technically, and I just
of
thought about that
real
because I'm like
life? Yeah.
technically, technically Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on a real event, but it's totally
My
not.
god.
Like it's not. It's based off Ed Gein, which is he's just prolific serial
Oh,
killer.
fair enough.
Although I was doing research into it, and apparently a bunch of people did go missing around the same time that the movie came out in Texas. Like there's just a bunch of disappearances in 1974.
Wow, that's
So that's
cool.
kind of weird.
Yeah, that's
And then
strange.
um Zodiac is technically an adaptation and a good one, but like it's based on real like the real investigation into the Zodiac killer.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. Like it's a good like I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question actually cuz like a part of me says yeah, but a part of me is like no cuz they've a lot of times when it's based on real events, it's super extra fabricated.
Yeah.
But like
Well, to make it like appealing and dramatic.
oh, but no, but so here's a question. What about The Dirt? Like the Motley Crue movie.
I did not see that movie.
It's not bad at all. Like it's on Netflix. You should check it out. But it's
Okay.
based on a book. But the book's an autobiography.
Oh yeah.
So that it's based on real events and it's an adaptation.
At the same time.
Yeah. So where does that fall in?
I'm gonna go with adaptation.
Yeah. So like,
because I think adaptation is more just like an interpretation over different mediums, and I guess real life could be a medium. I mean, our lives are a story.
art just imitates life. The world is a stage. We're just merely players. Shut up.
Shut up, Matt. Oh, sorry.
It's too late for this.
It's too late for this kind of bullshit thinking. Who even brought up this question?
In about 9 minutes, it'll be too early for this.
Yeah.
It's morning and it's just
My
too early.
God.
But like, I don't know. That's honestly, I can't even believe I didn't think about that. I mean, actually, if you look at it too, so The Exorcist is a book originally based on real events,
Right.
but they changed the name. So technically, it's a book based on a true story turned into a movie.
Right.
So like, does that like again? Like, I think it still falls under adaptation. Honestly, that's one of my favorite adaptations. I should have said that too, because like I read the book well after watching the movie, and like there's so many little things that I didn't pick up in the movie.
Yeah.
That I picked up in the book, and then went back and watched the movie, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that until now. Holy crap!
Jesus, I can't see anything. You're so ballsy, man. Like those are the horror, like any horror movies that have anything to do with demons. Those are the ones that get me, man. I can't, like,
Man,
I can't even handle it. Like I just lose it. I lose it.
I can't wait for October because I just want to do like so many like horror based things.
Oh my
I mean,
God, you son of a man!
only get
Like,
four shows, but
like seriously, I can just see her crab walking down the stairs in my head, and my spine tingles. Like it just,
dude, it's
I
such a good movie.
Lose it.
I have a
I'm
very
not saying
strong
it's
feeling
not a
on
bad
that,
movie. Man, people committed suicide after that movie. It was so good. Like, for real,
I
that's not even a joke. That
strongly-
is a serious thing that happened. This movie premiered, and a lot of people committed suicide after it. It's a true story.
I strongly feel this, and a lot of people think I'm joking when I say that, but I honestly feel like religious people should actually like watch The Exorcist and actually take it as like a serious good story. Yes, it's like got some really like not G-rated things that happen in it.
That's
But
putting it lightly.
At the core, it's the story about a man who's struggling with his faith, having to overcome that lack of faith in order to defeat a demon.
Yeah.
Like it's such a powerful story. It's so good. I love that movie. That's one of my go-tos. Like,
God damn it. Now I'm
like,
not going to
I
be able to
watch it every
sleep
few
tonight.
months.
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, God damn it, Ethan. Come on, man.
You're welcome.
I'm going to be turning off the
so
lights,
good,
and I'll just
though.
like run. It's like when you turn off the light and like run away. You're like, oh God, don't looking at me. You think that would
just
go
cuddle
away
with-
when you're
just-
like not 12, but apparently it doesn't. You're just like,
Not
oh
when
my
you have
God,
an active
stealth
animation, man.
cat. And
Dude,
imagination.
Dude, there are nights I have to sleep with my light on. Like I just have my lamp on.
Oh,
I'll sleep
okay.
with it.
I'm never that
Just-
bad, but
just-
like, damn, man, I'm
It's-
running away. I'm like, oh man, there's a
it's just
ghost
how
in
my
here.
brain
See you
is.
later, kids. I'm out. You guys do with that damn ghost.
I can't wake up in pitch black for some reason because I like panic.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know what it is, so it's like I have to have like some kind of like just just like some kind of glow. Like I have a little like it's a night light, but it's not really. It's just like a little Batman lamp that just like changes colors. So I have a nice purple glow in my room that just is really soothing and it's nice.
Yeah.
So when I wake up at night, it has different. So it has different colored lights, and I tried it one of the first nights with the red light. That was a mistake.
That would have been, yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
do not wake up with your room just red
Red.
because it's like, oh my goodness, what's coming for me?
What have I done?
Exactly. And like blue is okay, but it's a little too natural. Whereas like purple gives you that nice. It's just, I don't know. It's just a nice soothing color. But I'm
That's
sorry that I made you think about The Exorcist.
that's so funny, man. Like, oh, for real though. Like that's just the funny thing. Like, you're right. Overactive imagination sometimes. It's like I'm not scared of the
Oh
dark,
yeah.
but like, god damn, it's just like you get that shiver up your
I
back, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
I
It doesn't
always
help when you like know things. But people, whatever. I don't want to get into that. But
listen.
like, I love going online though and looking up memes where it's like where kids say creepy shit and then like looking at parents' reactions to that because I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
so down with you. Like, this kid's like, hey, do you want to meet David? Like, who the hell's David? Like, he's my friend who sees me at night. She's like, well, I'm getting the F out of here. Enjoy your friend. Like, you know, that'd be me. Like, screw you, kid. I ain't messing with no ghosts. See it. I'm out. You're on your own.
It's
Oh
the thing
man.
I say to people because I've still like at almost 30, I still always get made fun of. It's like ha ha ha, you're afraid of the dark, and I'm like, no, I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what's potentially in that dark. Because like the dark itself doesn't scare me, but what's there that I can't see? That's what
This
scares
is
me.
the concerning
Like
part.
like it's mildly concerning in your own house, but at the end of the day, it's like okay, if it's a demon, like I can't fight that off. I'm dead.
Well, that's the worst
Now
part.
in the woods though, it's like what can I not see out there? It could be a demon or it could be a bear, and I'm
That's
dead either
true.
way.
Dude, I can't wait for Halloween, man. This is gonna be so much fun. Oh, I'm
Man,
not
I
gonna
have so
sleep for
many.
like that whole week. Great.
I have so many things to talk about with that because it's
Oh.
one of my favorite genres to play in. It's
Anyway,
just
you
fun.
know, no, I'd agree. Exorcist is a great adaptation. It's just
Like, dude,
of real
if you
life
haven't
of a
read the book,
book. Of
if
a
you haven't
book,
read the
real
book, I
life.
recommend it, dude. Like, it's. I mean, unless you want to
Oh,
sleep.
yeah, and I kind of like sleeping, so I probably won't read it. Not gonna lie. I'm not even
But
gonna.
it's
I'm not
so
even
good.
rewatching the movie anytime soon. I'm like, F that, man. No,
They have an audiobook.
no, I'm good. Oh my gosh, no, thank you, sir.
I haven't got the
No,
audiobook
thank you,
yet. I
sir.
want to though.
Interesting, man. Interesting. Interesting. I like,
All right, so
I've enjoyed this conversation about adaptations. Like, it is really interesting. Like, just all the different areas that we've gone to talk about and dig into a little bit deeper. Yeah, it's a little bit of a longer episode, but like, come on, man, it's been great. Like, trying
I
to
feel like we
figuring out
barely
and
scratched the
define.
surface
Well,
though,
yes,
too.
and there's so much, and that's the thing. Like, because adaptation, it's so broad, and there's so many different elements to it, and so many different things in consideration. Like, it was only at the end that we're like, is real films based on real life? Are those an adaptation? Like, we only got there
Hmm.
at the tail end of this conversation. So there's a whole nother area that we could spend another 3 hours in talking about and thinking about and debating. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, again, for me, what is an adaptation? It's got to have the soul. And like, that's the most important part. It has to have the soul. And
It
it
has to have
generally
that.
crosses mediums.
It's again, it's the Ready Player One thing for me.
Yeah.
It's gotta feel the same. It's gotta
Yeah.
have that same heart, that soul.
Yeah. And that's not really
It's
that,
yeah,
and not necessarily the same imagery or the same iconography, but the soul has to be there. And I think that's the hardest part to
exactly.
capture. That's the hardest part. Besides making a movie that's actually good. But
Yep.
besides making a movie that's because let's be honest, no one at the end of the day is like, I'm going to make a really shitty movie. Like, people set out to make good movies. Hey, even you tried to make a good movie with what you
I
worked with.
I was settling with making a movie, and what it turned out to be, it was one way or the other. I did have just it just happened.
Well, exactly, man. But you weren't like, I'm going to make a bad movie on purpose. Like, you tried your best. That's
I'm
the
not the
point.
guys who make scary movies. Like, come on.
That's true. They're like, let's make it terribly so terrible. It's good. Perfect. But yeah, like,
I'm
adaptations,
curious.
they have to have that soul. They have to have the feeling, the heart. And, at the end of the day, those are
The
the best
love.
adaptations. The love. Yeah. 100%.
So, Matt, is it time for your surprise question of the day?
Surprise question of the day. It's a pretty easy one. It's not very hard. It's actually based on some recent news, and I thought it kind of applied since we were talking about adaptations. So, in light of all the COVID stuff going on, there's been a lot of movie
Mm-hmm.
delays. And the movie
Yeah.
studios, as we've been seeing over the past couple weeks, have been making various decisions on what they want to do with a lot of those films. Because some of those films have been delayed since like March slash like April. Like it's been a long time. And one of the things, if you know about movie studios, they don't just have millions upon millions upon millions upon billions of dollars kicking around. They have to take out loans like everybody else. And
Yeah.
there's interest on those loans. So the longer a movie sits there, not being released, not bringing back money, the more that interest obviously continues to go up. So it's important for movies to get out when they're supposed to get out. So this COVID thing has obviously been pretty nasty for people who are like Disney, who are sitting on some pretty major movies. That said, Disney has announced recently they're going to drop Mulan on Disney Plus in September.
Oh, really?
But not for free. You have to pay a premium of $29.99 to see it.
Oh, that's cool.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's the best way to do it, or there's other ways you would think they should go? This also should point out that they are releasing it in areas that don't have Disney Plus, in theaters that are open. Because we know outside the states, there's a lot of places with open theaters. A lot of places with open theaters now. But if you're a country that has Disney Plus, that's where it's going to be.
It worked for Trolls too.
Yeah, Trolls.
They made gangbusters in that way, and like honestly, for me, at the end of the day, the studios are gonna have to release them whenever they can, and at the end of the day too, they're not gonna be the ones who get hurt. It's gonna be the theater chains. However, I also have a very strong feeling that the theater chains need to start evolving and adapting too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should try to screen older movies, but for longer periods of times because they're cheaper to show
Yeah.
and they'll still get the audiences in. Because I mean, like if The Dark Knight came back through and was going to be in theaters and you had a chance to go see it in
Again. Yeah.
theaters again,
Why wouldn't you?
like so it's there for like the movie fans and like everyone has a favorite movie and there are some people who wouldn't bother doing that, but even if they charge a bit less than their regular ticket to go see but had it in theaters for longer, than just like they have the specials for like a day.
Right.
Well, why don't you do it for a month? Why don't you do it for a couple weeks? Like, and I think the theater chains are going to need to change their business format, especially with COVID, especially with what was happening. I think me and Prosper talked about that just at the beginning of COVID, or even before it happened. We were talking about kind of the theater chains needing to shake up their business models. And I think at the end of the day, Disney gonna do what it's gonna do, and I think it's gonna.
Would you do anything? Would you do something different though? Or are you like, no, that's the best plan?
Well, I think honestly, I think the only problem that they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot with is releasing it only on Disney Plus. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that might be the misstep, but at the same time if they're also going to get subscribers to Disney Plus, they're going to make bank there. And if they're not sharing it with other streaming services or they're not sharing it with even Apple,
Yeah.
then I guess they're going to make the most money out of that. So business honestly, that's the thing. I have a hard time criticizing Disney for any business moves because whether people agree if they're ethical or not, they're Disney. They're gonna make the smart business decision. They put research into this. They've looked into it and figured out the numbers. And honestly, there are gonna be people who do it. I probably won't. I'll probably wait until it comes out.
Yeah.
But that's with my life and how busy it's gotten at this point. That's how I am with most movies. I'll wait until they get released on DVD or something like that, and I'll buy it
Yeah.
then, or I'll just rent it. Or so I don't think it's a misstep, but I think it's, yeah, I don't know. I kind of trust them to make the right decision for them. And at the end of the day, if Mulan flops, it's not exactly going to sink the company.
Well,
So,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
that's the other problem too, is comparing Disney to like the company I think made a big misstep with this was when when they released Trolls, Universal then started
Well,
smack talking the theaters.
Universal
Like,
has gone itself in a lot of trouble in the last week here for sure, even more so than they were before.
oh,
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, they went after AMC in the States, right? Like that theater
Like the
change.
theater company?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're right now AMC's in a position. They're like this. I can't remember if they're the biggest theater chain in the world or like second biggest. They're right up there. Um,
yeah,
but they're really limping right now because they put in a whole lot of investing into their theaters right like before COVID. Like they renovated all of them, got the reclining seats and stuff. So they were
yeah,
like millions and millions and millions of dollars in debt, which at the time was a great business move because they would totally get all that back and they'd be, fine. But then COVID hit. So now they're not making money at all and they just invested all this money. So they've been limping along slowly, slowly. There's been talk over
yeah,
the last couple months how they're going to be closing, how they won't make it. Then an investor shows up, gives them a little bit money, then they move some things around, hopefully try to stay alive a little bit longer. Anyway, Universal went and tried to get them to sign a contract or make a deal, which they did, that they can release their films. So any Universal film that's released in AMC theaters in 17 days can also be released for premium online rentals. Which, and here's the big deal about that, right? So you got the 17-day window now,
yeah,
um, which is traditionally 3 months. So there's this big deal between the Theater Association, NATO, North America Theater Owners, not like, the military group
yeah.
NATO,
No, no,
but
yeah,
like the North American Theater Owners. So they have like the whole deal. They're all these theater owners are in the same ballpark and they have the deal with the studio. So there's a 3 month window between when a movie is released in theaters before it can be released basically at home or on streaming or whatever. So there's a 3 month window where it's exclusively in theaters. And that's the lifeblood of the theater chain, right? You can only
yeah,
see these movies in theaters. So what Universal has come and done is try to undercut that deal, that law that they kind of have. It's an unspoken one, and just change it to 17 days. Not like 30, not like 45, but 17 days after they release a movie, it can now go to online streaming for a premium rental. So like 25 bucks, 30 bucks, whatever.
similar to the Mulan
Kind
thing.
of kind of like the Mulan thing, a little bit different. But they're talking about all the movies and they're talking about not
Yeah,
just
from
during
now
COVID,
on.
from now on, right?
Yeah,
And they got Universe or AMC to sign it. Every other movie theater chain is like, you motherfuckers! Like they've just been losing their shit, because, and they're calling AMC like traitors and betrayal. Like they created like a whole ton of enemies because this is the lifeblood of their theaters. The theaters only make so much money. Like it's not a huge profit margin,
well,
right?
dude, they make it all from
Well,
snacks.
and that's
They don't,
exactly it. They
they
don't
don't
make it
make it
all
from the
like
ticket
films,
sales
but you need the movies to drive people in.
because the ticket sales cover the cost of showing the
Yeah,
movies.
more or less.
Like I
Yeah,
think I told you about that. Like we did a screening of Milk in college,
yeah,
like that one with Sean Penn.
yep,
For one night for one showing, it cost us $200.
yeah.
Like, and now imagine that, except for and that was when the movie was old.
Yeah, but like major brand
Now,
new movies, major Cineplex
brand new
film. Yeah.
movie in several
Yeah.
theaters in one building
Yeah.
for multiple showings in a day. Even if it was $200, like you're showing that same movie 10
Yeah.
times, like you might not make that back in ticket sales.
So,
Plus paying everybody. That's why snack prices have gone up so
well,
much.
exactly.
And
Like and so theaters don't already have a big profit margin. So cutting that down to 17 days and giving people the option to not even come to the theater to see these films is a huge, like it's a death blow to theaters. Like if you love movie
oh yeah,
going, like this is a deal that would kill it. But no other. But the thing is, for that deal to actually work, Universal needs all the other theaters to kind of sign on to that, right? Because sure, you have one theater chain that's willing to do that, but now it's like, okay, so you're just gonna put your movies in AMC theaters and ignore all the other movie theaters that are out there, and just go to
the
streaming.
stupid thing
That is not a good call.
the stupid thing about it, when the whole Trolls thing happened, that's who they were at war with.
Yeah, I know. And then
Because
they
like,
went to them because after a
because
couple months they kind of weakened out. But yeah, AMC was pissed at them too for Trolls. Yeah,
because like you said, we don't need to go to movie theaters anymore.
yeah. So
And they're like, "Cool, we're not going to show your movies
yeah,
anymore,"
that's exactly
and
it.
that
Yeah.
changed.
So I mean, AMC and Universal have been kind of the top during the COVID thing. They've been making the weirdest, all over the place decisions, and people are getting desperate. Businesses are getting desperate. That's fine, but the difference between this Mulan thing and I probably would do it a little bit differently. Differently, not that I'm like I know better than Disney, but I would still do it a little bit differently. Um, like for one, I'm definitely not going to be one of the people who are watching Mulan at the end of the day on Disney Plus until it's free. Like I'm already paying a subscription. I don't really feel like paying another $30 to see a movie in my house. I will pay
No,
theater
exactly.
prices to go to a theater and sit in a theater and watch the film. I will not pay arguably more than theater prices if don't not including snacks and stuff, right? Just ticket prices. I'm not going to pay more for that so I can sit at home on my couch and watch the movie. I want to see the movie because it looks very interesting. It's a very interesting adaptation because it's way more realistic. Like they're very much going away from the animated version and kind
Yeah.
of making it more of like a Chinese epic, which is very, very cool. I like kind of the style and what they were going for with that. But yeah, like again, the studio's in a tough spot. This movie is burning their wallets. Like it's burning. It's pretty much like throwing money in the furnace. Every day this movie sits unreleased, it's just throwing more money in the furnace. So I get they want to like take some of it back. But what I would do is I'd release Disney Plus in the US, right? Just in the US, release Mulan there. Because here's the thing, we all know the big problem here is the United States at the end of the day. All their stuff is
Yeah.
closed because they can't get their shit together. There's actually movies. There's a new SpongeBob movie coming out, by the way. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah,
Speaking of
I'm
SpongeBob
sure of
last
it.
episode, but it's getting released like everywhere but the States. Like they're doing the international release everywhere but the States. And I saw some people
Yeah, it makes
complaining
sense.
like, "Oh, why does everyone else get the movie?" It's like get your shit together and you can come play with everyone else. Like that's what it is at the end of the
Exactly.
day. So for Disney, yeah, I would put it in on Disney Plus for the States, but anywhere that has theaters open, send it there. Like we in Canada don't get it. We have theaters open. We have theaters open. Like why wouldn't you send it up here? Because you're gonna make more money in the theaters at the end of the day than you ever are streaming. Even if it's on Disney Plus, you're gonna make more money in the theaters by those tickets. So that's the only thing really I would change. I would open it internationally everywhere except the United States. United States, you get it on Disney Plus.
I
Um,
think at the end of the day, the problem is they are charging movie theater
and yeah,
prices for a rental
that's
essentially.
the big thing. Like if it was free on Disney Plus, I'd buy it. But
Well,
like I kind of
even
get
if it was like for a premium, if it was for a premium to rent it for like anywhere from 5 to 15
yeah,
bucks, people would do
that
that.
would be a different story. Yeah. But like again, they're trying to recoup some of the money, which like I get from a business point of view, but I think you're actually going to end up losing more money because I think more people are just going to be like, "Ah, no, I'm good." Like I already pay a subscription. And like for people to like subscribe to Disney Plus to go see it, I can't see that being realistic. Cause like nowadays
Yeah,
everyone's having kind of a rough time with money. Like no one's just got free bunch of money kicking around. So you're telling me someone's gonna pay to subscribe to Disney Plus so they can pay to watch a movie on Disney Plus like that? Like you have to go through two different paywalls before you can watch this film. Like I don't think anyone's gonna do that just for Mulan,
for one movie. Yeah,
especially one that was supposed to come out a couple months ago that never really hit its big marketing peak because everything started shutting down. Like it
yep.
was just getting there, right? But it wasn't. So like does the movie have enough like popularity or excitement about it? If this was an MCU movie, I would say maybe different because that at least has the MCU push behind it that people would probably want to go see that or be excited to go see that. This
Or
movie,
if it was like,
I don't know.
if it was like again, like not to say Mulan isn't a big title
Yeah,
with the Disney franchises, but like Little Mermaid, I could see this maybe working for
maybe, yeah. There's a
because
lot of
like that
people
was a
who
much bigger
really, yeah,
title.
really love Little Mermaid. So it's
Or
like
even if this
it's
happened around the time that Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast
yeah,
happened, like I could see that too. But
yeah. For Mulan
Mulan,
and like
especially
what
when
it's
enough
aiming
people,
for, yeah.
well, especially since enough people are pretty upset about them not making it a musical,
Yes,
like
yeah.
you've already lost a chunk of your fan base there.
because you're
So,
changing it so drastically. But I mean, it's a complicated business at the end of the day. They're doing what they think is best. I get it.
well, that's where I think Disney
I
Disney has done research and they know what's going to make them the most amount of money.
I just don't like.
They
I
got those
just
professionals.
yeah, I know, and I'm not a professional, but I'm like, I doubt that that is the best way to make money. Honestly, though, like, but if you released it premium somewhere else, like anywhere but Disney Plus, like, I feel like maybe you'd get some more people or cast a wider net. I don't know. It just, again, you're right. They know kind of like we don't know what percentage or what cut other places take for like
And they're going to
video on
protect the Disney
demand
brand.
VOD, right? And they're gonna, yeah,
Like
you're
that's the thing
gonna
is they're
put it where their streaming service is, because that's the point of the streaming service, to put their movies there. But yeah, I just I'm not gonna be paying that much extra for it. It's really interesting to see what's happening with the movie theater, the industry as a business, along with the studios, because they need each other. They're a very symbiotic relationship, right? Um,
no,
and if
exactly.
the theaters go, you're like, okay, well, you can watch movies at home, but then they're never gonna make the same amount of movie money watching movies at home as they do releasing in theaters. Like, so that means we'll see less big budget movies because they won't be able to bring back as much money. So it'll ultimately affect the whole thing. But it'll be interesting at the end of the day. See who lives, see who survives, see who makes it, and what's gonna happen with the rest of these movies that have been delayed. Like, I'm interested in what's happening with
COVID's
like Black Widow, because I haven't heard anything about that, and like even the Eternals. I know those all got pushed back, I think, but even that
yeah.
Eternals original date is not close. I guess I think it was October, November. So, but that kind of stuff is creeping up too. So we'll just see
I
if
heard a
the
horrible
country
joke
can get this
online
shit
with Black
together.
Widow. For Black Widow, someone was saying that they should just, they should just hurry up and drop Black Widow on Disney Plus. And someone's like, if you want to see Black Widow drop, just go to Endgame and watch it this time here. Like that's
Oh,
oh,
savage.
it's great.
Savage as hell.
But honestly, at the end of the day, COVID is going to irreparably change the movie industry.
I think so, yeah.
Like the summer blockbusters probably completely change now. Like maybe we'll see how next summer brings, but like
I think
everything.
I think we're gonna see the result in not necessarily like once we reopen up, we'll have this big wave of like new content continually coming in. But once that wave goes, I think we're gonna see a lull until they get like, while production is stopped like on so many different things. Like, I think we're gonna see a lull till that kind of catches up again as well.
Well, like what I'd like to actually see is like they decide, hey, we can't afford to spend this money on these big budgets.
Let's make some smaller ones.
Let's that would be kind
Yeah.
of nice. I don't think that's gonna happen because
Well,
wishful
you
thinking.
never know,
But
man. Like, again, COVID is like it doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. And in America, where most of the movie stuff is, it's they're not even close yet. Like, we're not even talking
not in the
about even
slightest.
close to being reopening. So,
Apparently, they've talked about moving Hollywood up to Canada.
well, that's what I would
It's like
do.
no,
Let's move it
keep
up
your
here,
gross
baby.
germs down there.
Oh man, that'd be legit. Well, I wouldn't mind if the whole thing just moved up here permanently. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, except for they
Opportunity,
got
man.
germs and they're
Opportunity.
gross.
American germs. But yeah, I mean, even Disney isn't as hot right now as it was. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way Disney could buy Fox right now. Like, if that deal wouldn't have happened before COVID, there's no way they could do it.
Oh
Their
yeah,
parks have been shut down, and like they're starting to reopen now. But like, they took a huge loss on their
but
parks. They're
even then,
taking
they're
a
running into
huge loss of
problems,
their
right?
films. Like, they're just taking losses everywhere, and that's part of the situation. But it'll be interesting to see how this all kind of works itself out and brings it all back around together again.
I still like that we talk about movie studios struggling, like they're doing worse, like as bad as we are, and it's like no, they're not. They're doing
They're
great.
doing on like
At
a
the end of the
higher
day,
scale, different scale, but
oh, we lost a couple million.
like
Oh no.
damn. But yeah, like
Yeah, I'll
none
take
of them
that.
are in danger of closing, except like AMC is definitely like limping along. But that's a theater chain, and
Well, theater chains have been struggling like that for a
well,
very long time.
especially like the smaller ones, I think we'll lose a lot of those too. Like, they closed down Rainbow in the City here. Sad times.
Like it's closed,
Close,
closed.
close. Well, it was supposed to close
Oh,
at like the end of this year, or like somewhere in like the fall. But when COVID hit, they're just like, "Hey guys, we're just shutting down because there's no point of like being open, right? So that we can just close right away." So
I guess Center is just
Rainbow's gone. Center is just, and then they built a new like Center Cineplex as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That tells you how much I've been around Saskatoon.
Yeah, it's been a while, but
all I know is I'm still mad that Galaxy is downtown.
It's the worst,
that's
man.
The stupidest thing. Why would you build a theater where you have to pay for parking?
Like, and that's why I never go there. We got a Landmark too, which is great. I go to Landmark all the time. That's my theater chain of choice right now.
Right close to where I grew up.
Yeah, right around the hood, man.
I haven't been home since they opened up, so I haven't been able.
When you get, we'll have to go to a movie when you come home.
But it's my preferred cinema out here. It's where I go all the time. It's a bit of a drive, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's close. It's close to us here, and it's just I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Anyway,
great.
Yeah, it was great, man. Dude, movies are great, and like the industry is really interesting. And there's so like terrifying. Yes, terrifying. There's definitely a lot of problems, but you know, when you look at it and you take all the stupid human people crap out of it, you're like, oh yeah, man, it's very interesting. I don't think we'll run out of topics to talk about anytime soon.
If we do, it'll be because we're too old and tired.
Yeah, that's more or less it.
All right, so I think that's it for the night. I think that's it for the show.
Oh man, it is currently 1:20 a.m. people,
and I have to be at work in about it's 11, so I still got time to sleep.
Oh, this was
sleep,
great.
Roll out of bed, shower,
this was
get to
great.
Work. It's been a good talk though, man. I feel nice and stuffed. I still feel like we barely scratched the surface on adaptations, but man, no, it was good. It was good. I was excited. I'm glad we set this aside for its own thing because I just knew we both had things to talk about. I knew we had. It's the subjectivity objectivity thing. Imagine if we would have tried to shove that in with like one of our other episodes.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. Like there's definitely topics that you kind of have to just put on their own because they're just too meaty and they're too full, and you can talk about them for 3 hours and still there's so much more to talk about.
I can't wait till we get to prequels, sequels, and remakes. I feel like that should be like a 3-part special.
God. That probably will be, yeah. Probably will.
All right, with that said, that is another episode of A Feast of Films. I'm Ethan R. Hill, and with me as always is...
Matt Black.
Well, have a good week, everyone, and we will see you later.
Bye-bye.
So long.
Toodaloo.
And we're just too tired for anything.
There's no songs. La-dee-da-da, la-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da.
The sun has gone to bed, and so must I.
Goodbye. Goodbye.